Hey everybody, welcome back. And today I have another tutorial slash first impressions for you. And this is for a brand that I wanted to try this year that was on my list of brands to try, and that is Certify. And I created this look using the Dynasty palette. I've got to say, I love the packaging on this palette. It's really beautiful. The palette itself is just gorgeous to look at. I'm really enjoying it. And I do have some thoughts on this palette, so I will be sharing those with you. And also, this is probably going to be a little bit longer of a tutorial just because of the nature of the look. This is one of those half cut creases. It's a kind of look I love, but I really need to sit down and practice more on. So you'll probably see more of these kind of looks coming at you because it's a little bit more involved. Plus I have got older eyes. I've got more mature skin. I've got crepey, wrinkly eyelids. And I've got hooded eyes. So it's just a kind of a plethora of challenges, but ones that we can overcome. So the tutorial will probably be a little bit more chatty, just to kind of talk you through some of the techniques I'm finding are helping me out. I'm by no means an expert, but if you want to see how I got this look using the Certify Dynasty palette, then stick around. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So I have already done my eyebrows. I have already gone in with my Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlighter just to kind of clean things up. So to start off, and I also used my Lorac Behind the Scenes eyeshadow primer just as a base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my Sigma, this is today this is the BRC S02 brush, pretty much the same as my Sigma, and my Wet n Wild shadow in Brulee, and we are just going to set that base. And I've talked about this before. You know, some people prefer setting their bases, some don't, because I am a little bit older and have more mature skin. It is just easier for me to set the base. I find that my shadows blend better when I do that. And since we are doing a semi, dramatic look today, then it's just going to be easier down the road. I need to get my life together. Because I wish I could see the absolute, just den of chaos that is my desk right now. It's not cute. Now that that's set, we're not going to be shy with this palette. We're going to go ahead and just dive right into it. And I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is called Elite. And I am just going to start off with my Wet n Wild Fluffy brush. This is still like end all be all when I want just a really soft transition-y application, or to lighten up a deeper shadow to make it work as a transition. This is my go-to brush, and it's like a doll hair. So I'm just going to really... And I just barely tapped my brush in. I will say these pigments, or these eyeshadows, do pack quite a punch. So just, start off slow. And I will say I did my face makeup first because I'm stubborn, and that's just always what I am determined to do. And I did not get any, did I get any fallout from these shadows? I'm looking. Yeah, guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but from the shades I used, I got zero fallout on this eye. So, let's see if that trend continues. So I'm just being very generous with this. I'm taking this almost up to the brow bone. We'll clean it up later. Just getting a nice, see how, that's such a deep, intimidating shade. Not intimidating, but that's a pretty intense shade. So when you use a fluffy or less dense brush, you can get a really beautiful, just transition color out of it, and it's like nothing. Now, we do not want to keep it light and soft and airy, so I'm going to go in with my Sigma Tapered Blending E35 brush in that same Elite color. And guys, I don't know if you can tell, my palette's already kind of messy, but when I go in, when I go into that shadow, I'm not getting hardly any fallout. When I tap off my brush, these shadows are kind of bananas. So now we're just going to take, this is a slightly more dense brush, more compact. It's still a beautiful blending brush, but it's going to give us more of depth of tone because it's going to pack that color in just a little bit more intensely. So I will say, if you are like me and you have, wrinkles, I have wrinkles or crepey skin, or sometimes you get weird lines of demarcation because you're not working on a perfectly smooth surface. So if that's what you're finding is happening with you with your eyeshadows, instead of just going back and forth, do little wiggle patterns, circle one way, then circle the other, and make sure you're getting that shadow in there. Really lightly. I'm holding my brush all the way back here, so I'm not jamming it into my eye and dragging that skin around. I'm just manipulating, you know, my application a little bit so that it just applies a little bit more evenly. I'm gonna change my channel name to Makeup Tricks for the Old and Wrinkly. I'm old. I'm not really old. I'm 37. I'm older. I'm mature. I'm entering the middle years. All right, I am going to go in with my blending E25 brush, which is, again, it's a little bit, so just for comparison, just to show you, since these are all about, you know, just teaching you tricks. So you can see how fluffy the Wet n Wild brush is compared to the E35, which is a little bit more compact. Ooh, there we go. Which is a little bit more compact to the E25, which is pinched and more compact. So they all have essentially the same kind of domed shape. They're all blending brushes, but those slight little differences are really gonna help determine how your eyeshadow goes on. So with that E25, we're gonna go into this shade right here called Empress. And I'm gonna start off, I have found doing my other eye that this shade, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with it not wanting to blend away in certain places. And I think with this one, what needs to be done is you just need to kind of pat it on, blend it out, and then go back in and, you know, kind of reapply the color, which isn't like my favorite thing in the world, but these are very, very intense shadows. Again, it could just be my first time using them. It could just be me, but this is just what I'm finding. But I'm gonna be pretty generous with this shade. And I'm just gonna pat this all along the outer third to half of my eye. And then we're gonna start taking it in. And again, I'm gonna be pretty generous with this. This is a pretty involved look, so it's probably gonna be, this is gonna be a longer tutorial, but whatever, it is what it is. So, and if it's messy on the inside inner corner of the eye, that's fine. As you can see, we are gonna go back and clean it up and make that fun shape. Like you can see how my eye, it's not, that's me. That is my skin, that's not the shadow. It's just the way my skin moves when I apply the shadows. So, you know, you just be aware that sometimes it really is us, it's not the shadow, us mature people. You know, and that's not a bad thing. It's just learning how, you know, if you want to wear these bright colors, wear them. You just kind of have to learn how to manipulate them sometimes to make them work for you. Because unfortunately, we cannot all be 22 with perfectly smooth skin. It's not fair, but that's what life is. So I've got a blend going that I really like. I just hit my desk, so sorry about that. So I'm just going to pat a little bit more of this shadow on now that I've got it blended out, just to really deepen it up. And now we're gonna go into the fun part, which is creating this half cut crease. So this is something, creating half cut creases are something that I have kind of, I'm still working on, I've had to work on, because you want that nice rounded shape, but since I'm older and I have hooded eyes, if I stay too close to my crease, it's gonna look funky or it's not gonna look like a cut crease. So I really, really have to exaggerate it. So when my eye is open, it still has that rounded shape. When my eyelid is, or when my eye is closed, it's still got that nice rounded shape. It really is something that you're just gonna have to sit down and practice on your eye with your eyelid. What kind of eyes do you have? What shape of eyes do you have? It's just something you're gonna have to practice. So do not be afraid of messing something up. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, they're like, oh, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? I'm like, I literally sit down at the night before I wash my face at the end of the night. I just play, you know, you just play. You sit down and work on your eyeliner. I did that the other day, you know, because I'm rusty. Because with a certain type of, like I like to apply my eyeliner with a brush, and I picked up the Kat Von D, where are you? I picked up one of the Kat Von D tattoo eyeliners, which I don't even know what I did with it. It's somewhere, and I'm just rusty with it because it's a felt tip pen. It's not a, oh, here it is. It's literally right here. The Ultra Ink Liner, and I had to sit down and practice with it and really practice creating that shape, because not everything is going to work the same on everybody's eyes. I mean, it's just, so just practice. So if you try this look and your shape looks funky to start off with, like I'm happy with how this eye turned out, but I had to redo it a couple times. So, you know, just be gentle with yourself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another Wet n Wild brush. This is just their like concealer brush, I think, or short shader. I don't know. It's one of their dollar brushes. And I'm going to go in with the Stila Stay All Day Concealer in Light, which is just a nice creamy concealer. Again, use whatever you have. A paint pot would be good for this. Your regular concealer would be good for this. And what we're going to do, I'm going to stop talking and I'm just going to work on creating this shape. So just bear with me. So I'm doing this with my eyes relaxed and open so I can see, you know, I can kind of get an idea of where that cut crease is going to appear when my eyes are open, because you don't walk around with your eyes closed all day. And I am going to clean this up, but I just want the basic shape. I think I took this side a little bit too high, but like I said, it's okay. It's just makeup. We can fix it. I'm going to go ahead and very liberally coat the rest of my eye here. And I'm just going to take it over about halfway. Okay, I like the shape, except for right up here, I took it up a little bit too high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off the same little detail brush, or you can use another detail brush, use whatever you have. I like this one because it's a flat brush and it's very, I can get a precision line with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up that same brush and I'm going to go right back into Empress. And we're going to just start redefining that line and reshaping it how I want it. So guys, I know you go, like, I see these TikToks of these girls who do this perfectly and I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, are you, that's magic to me. I don't know, or the one swipe eyeliner, if only. So I'm just very gently redefining this. So again, you want to make sure you have a good shape when your eye is open and when it's, you know, relaxed. Or open, you know, when you're kind of wide-eyed and when it's closed. You want it to look good anytime. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wipe off this brush again. And again, use a different brush if you're more comfortable. I'm just wiping it off on a makeup wipe. And I'm gonna go back in with that concealer. Same thing I say with blending all the time, guys. I'm not a makeup artist. I'm just learning. This is fun for me. So a lot of times it's just about the back and forth until you find, you know, what looks good and what works for you. So I think I'm happy with this shape. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on from here for just a minute. And then we might go back, we might, you know, reiterate some things. You know, we're just, like I said, it's a work in progress. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of my flat shader brushes from Mash. Guys, if I can find these online, I'll link them down below. It's like a set of like 157,000 brushes for like $5 on Amazon. I hate the face brushes, I hate the blending brushes, but these little flat shader brushes are my go-to. And we're gonna go into this shade right here called Glisten. And I'm just gonna pick that up. I am gonna treat this like I do any other eyeshadow. And I am just going to wet this down. I'm just using my Smashbox Photo Finish Primer water. Use whatever you have. Or just apply it straight to the concealer if you want. And we're just going to start painting this on. The reason why I always spray down my brush is because I'm a child and I'm impatient and I want maximum impact immediately. So that's just why I do it. I'm just gonna take that all the way over into the purple. It's a mess right now. That's okay, we're not worried about it. We just wanna worry about getting that green all the way to that edge as clean as possible. Once I've got that, pretty much that base down, I'm gonna go in with just pick up some shadow and not wet it down, just on that same brush and start packing it in. I'm just slapping these shadows, guys, on and I'm getting zero fallout. I am super, super impressed. Okay, maybe not zero, but like hardly any. So I'm just gonna check, is that about the same? Is that about how I want it? It's looking pretty good right now. So we're gonna move on to the next shadow. For this, I'm just gonna take another flat shader brush from Mash and we are gonna go into this shade right here called Opulence. And we're going to use that to transition from Empress into Glisten. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start placing this right here on that border between the two shades. And then between the two greens, I'm just going to do the pat and wiggle. Just to kind of start building up that transition. I'm just going to drag it over towards the Empress shade. And that's just to deepen up that green a little bit so the line of demarcation between the purple and the green is not so harsh. So now I'm going to pick up my E25 brush again. I'm going to go and start off with no more product on it, just that had that purple color. And again, I'm going to do the pat and wiggle. We're just going to wiggle it. And if we need to add more purple, we will. I'm going to dip back into that Empress shade just a little bit. And if you need to, go back into the green. You know, just do whatever you need to do until you feel happy with that transition. And so it's not super harsh, and you're just happy with how it looks. Okay, now before we do the inner corner, I'm going to start softening up this. So you see over here, we kind of have a nice soft blend. We still have a pretty significant line, you know, separating the two shadows, but it's not as so harsh. So I'm just taking my Sigma, I'm sorry, I should tell you what I'm doing, my E36. This is the blending brush. It's just a very small, very precise blending brush. And I'm starting off with no product on it. And we're just gonna start really focusing in this inner corner and just softening this up. And once we've got kind of a nice little blend going, I'm gonna go back into Elite. I'm gonna barely just kind of dab my brush into it just to pick up a little bit of color. And we're going to start transitioning this out. And then finally what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that same brush and I'm just going to very, very lightly dab into Queen just to pick just the smallest amount on my brush. And then again, we're just going to kind of just concentrate right along the edges there. So now I just want to kind of soften that up. So I'm going to go back in with my BRC S02 brush and a little bit of Brulee. And we're just going to kind of calm some of this down just a little bit. And if you don't want to, if you want that really, really intense situation going on in that inner part of the eye, you know, go for it. Do whatever you think looks good for your look, because it's just makeup, guys. What you love is not going to be the same as what everybody else loves, and vice versa. All right, let's work on the inner corner of the eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, I'm wiping off that flat shader brush that I used to apply Glisten. So that just cheap little flat shader brush, and we're going to go into this shade right here called Opal, which is the lightest blue in this in the palette. I'm just gonna wet it down. And we're just going to focus this really on the inner third of the eye. And this is not going to be super intense, but it is going to just kind of add a really pretty kind of touch of almost like peacocky, light peacocky teal, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. It might not. So we've got just a really pretty soft gradient right there. So because I am a psychopath and I can't leave well enough alone, I'm going to go into a different shade because I wanted something just a little bit more intense for that inner corner. So I'm going to pick up my V9 from BH Cosmetics. This is part of the vegan brush line, and we're going to go into Room Service from Buxom. This shadow, oh my god, if you want a good kind of duochrome inner corner, a green highlight, whatever, the shade is amazing. And I'm just going to pop that right over Opal just to give it a little bit more of a pop. So just like that. So let's work on the lower lash line. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to use my Urban Decay 24/7 eyeliner in Freak. I'm just going to put this right on the waterline, probably off camera because I don't know how to do two things at once. Hold, please. Now I'm just going to take my BRC S01 from Coastal Scents, which is a teeny, teeny, tiny little shader brush, and I'm going to go back into Empress, and we're just going to stamp this along the lower lash line. And if it gets a little messy, that's okay. We're going to blend it out. So once we get to about right here, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of create a little bit. I just got eyeshadow on my nose. What the actual? We're just going to kind of open up the inner corner of the eye a little bit more by kind of just following this tear duct and creating kind of a false tear duct. Not really, but kind of, just really lightly. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you know, insanely precision. We're just giving that illusion of a little bit inner corner bigness. Is that even a word? I don't think that's a word. All right, we're gonna go back in with the BRC S06 brush, which I talked about this in a tutorial not too long ago. This is my favorite under eye brush, and we're gonna go back into Elite. We're just gonna start blending this out. I really hope to God I'm in focus, guys. I'm sorry, I'm fighting with my camera. It doesn't like me. Taking just a little bit of Empress, that deeper purple, right along the outer V and up to meet the shadow up top. I'll blend it out, blend it down. And once again, we're gonna take our BRC S02 brush, take a little bit of Brulee. And if you got a little too low or if it looks a little too messy, just use that to erase any mistakes. All right, guys, so now what I'm gonna do, since the eye look is essentially done, I'm going to use my Wet n Wild Mega Length Mascara. I'm gonna pop that on. I am going to use my Wet n Wild, if I can find it, because I've lost everything. I'm gonna do a winged liner with my H2O proof liner from Wet n Wild, and then I am also going to use these kind of like 3/4 lashes from Styles of Beauty, which if you have not seen my haul talking about this new beauty brand, then definitely go check it out. And I'm gonna pop these on. These are kind of like a 3/4 lash. So I'm gonna do all that and I will be right back. All right, guys, and just to finish off the look, what we're gonna do is we are gonna just take a little bit more of that room service shade, and I'm just gonna, again, just reiterate right underneath my tear duct, inner corner there, just to really brighten it up. All right, so that's the finished look. So we're gonna zoom out and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so this is the finished look. I've gotta say I'm really happy with it. Is it perfect? No. Do I really like it and am I digging it? Absolutely, I really am. I like the colors. I think it turned out really nice. I have no idea what cosmic forces aligned to get my eyeliner to be completely even, my eyes not watering, my lashes giving me no issues. I don't know what's up. Maybe go out and buy a lottery ticket. But anyway, I hope the tutorial part was really helpful for you in regards to the techniques I'm using for myself, which again, I have hooded eyes, I have crepey eyelids, I have texture, I have just, you know, I just don't have perfect, beautiful eyelids anymore. So, but you can still do these looks. So I hope the tutorial part was really interesting and helpful for you, and you can apply that with any eyeshadows you have. Now, on to my thoughts on this palette. Again, I want to say these palettes usually retail around 30 or 40 pounds, which I was just like, ugh, it kind of made me hesitate to pull the trigger. But when I went on there and saw that they were on sale for like $11.90 a piece, I was like, yep, done, get it. Let's get 3 of them and try them out. I will say, now that I've tried these, I would spend the money to get the other 2 or 3 that I don't have. I'm really, really, so far liking the formula. Like I said, so far my only kind of gripe with this would be with this purple, this Empress shade, because it could be the base I was using. It could be, you know, again, I need to really get in and try it out some more and play around with it some more before I make any definitive decisions. Because I did kind of want to, it's one of those shades that kind of wants to be packed on and just left alone, which is fine. Some eyeshadows are like that. I think overall it blended out beautifully. Every matte that I used, the Queen, Elite, and Empress, they all blended out beautifully for me. So my only issue was that I was kind of losing some of the depth with that Empress shade. Just by the blending, it kind of just lightened up a little bit. But when I packed it on, it was fine. So, you know, again, it's just one of those things that depends on your technique and how you apply your makeup that, you know, that might be an issue for you. But I am so super impressed with the versatility of these, especially these two deep purple shades. Purple shades can be really difficult and tricky, which is kind of why I went for those to begin with. And the way Elite blended out with that fluffy brush to begin with to create a purple, like just beautiful purple light transition shade, and then could deepen up and give you that depth. I could have done this look probably just with that Elite shade, but I really liked the Empress shade as well. I think it's real. I think it turned out really pretty, really gave me the depth I needed. Again, I just had to blend it out. It wasn't patchy. It just seemed like it was lightening up, which, I mean, again, when you blend out an eyeshadow, that's going to happen. So I just had to go back in and pack it out and then slightly blend it out to blend it in. The shimmers I used in this palette, Glisten and Opal, I thought were beautiful. I applied some with a brush. I applied them wet. So I kind of did the dry thing. I even went back and applied some with my, you know, just kind of topped it off with my fingers, and I didn't have a problem either way. I kind of just, whatever I'm feeling tends to be what I do. 6 shades in this in this palette. I used Queen, Elite, Empress, Opal, Glisten, and Opulent. So 5 out of 18, right? 6 out of 18. So I used a third of this palette. So still a lot of uncharted territory, but this is a palette I could see myself traveling with if, you know, one day when we're allowed to do that again. I could see myself, you know, just using this for more romantic looks, more colorful looks, even more neutral looks. And I love the way this palette is laid out. I love that you have 6 individual color stories. From what I'm seeing with these mattes, that the only thing I would be missing to really create a full-on look for me with any of these color stories is a brow bone shade, which I always take Brulee with me anyway, so. Oh, and I almost forgot to point this out. With all these bright colors, there is like no fallout in the pan. I mean, there was a little bit, but most of it came from, you know, they had just a few spots from shipping, but no like serious fallout in the pan. When I was tapping off my brush, I wasn't seeing anything coming off, and I had almost no fallout on my eyes. Like, that's banana sandwich. I can't even believe that I didn't have fallout. I was thinking, oh, I'm so stupid for not using like a shadow guard or something, that I'm gonna have to redo my concealer and stuff. Like, no, it was not a problem at all. So I'm super, super impressed with that. Is that normal for this brand? Let me know down below, because if that's normal for this brand, that is just insanity to me. So I'm really, really happy with this palette so far. I'm excited to dig into this one a little bit more and play with some other ones. I am a savage, so I can see that this is already going to be very dirty. I'm a mess, what can I say? But yeah, I really like this look, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. And again, I hope the tutorial was helpful for you, because if you're like me, you're gonna be 80 years old. I mean, I know when I'm 80 years old and I'm tugging my tits in my shoes, you know, sagging everywhere, I'm still gonna wanna wear colors like this. Why? Because I'm an adult and I can do what I want, and nobody can tell me to wear age-appropriate makeup, because there is no such thing. If you like it, if you feel good in it, if it is something that makes you feel empowered, then it is your age-appropriate makeup. And if somebody doesn't like that, you can tell them to kiss the wrinkliest part of your ass, because that's how I feel about that. So, all that being said, I'm gonna stop rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed this look. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to hang out, talk about makeup with me. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.